hardest thing to design in a Metroidvania is the price tag. Deciding whether your game is going to cost more or less or the same as Hollow Knight. Money talks. $15 says you can expect the exact same length, girth, and aesthetic lean to the left as the indie Metroidvania Hall of Famer. Every dollar over 15, hubris. Anything less, a waste of time. Money in pocket likes to run its mouth. Money spent is money you can listen to. Where should you price a Metroidvania knowing you'll be compared to Hollow Knight as an anchor point? I will answer this question, not as objectively as one could hope, but as personally and honestly as I can. A man who routinely buys Metroidvanias that aren't Hollow Knight. I'll start with the biggest bite and chew from there. The biggest reason for why I buy Metroidvanias, even though Hollow Knight exists, is because I already own Hollow Knight and played it and enjoyed my time with it, and now I'm looking for something else. That is my consumer of entertainment answer, my purveyor of art answer. Asking why I would buy one thing when another similar thing exists in price and function strikes me as a question for tools. Not saying you're a tool. I mean a question I ask myself when judging comparable tools like linesman pliers. It's a question I ask of video editing software because I want to buy one and be done with choosing for a long time. It's a question I ask of subscription services because I only have so much time and money to spend on recurring fees I forget to cancel. I can cast no stones, though, because there are some games I've compared to each other. I used to balance the scales back when I played competitive online games, because I liked how it felt to master a game, and I reckoned I only had enough room in me to master one at a time. So I would pick only one MOBA, one fighting game, one shooter to devote myself to. I feel the same way about anything with long-term commitment built into the gameplay. MMOs or ARPGs, for example. I only have enough room in my heart for one late-game gear grindathon, so who's it gonna be? And recently, I had to choose between Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering because I don't have the time and mental bandwidth for two collectible card games. Notice all of the genres and games I've mentioned ask for my time as well as my money. It's a lot more common these days. More games are designed to be more demanding. They're the ones that make me choose between them or something else in the same market with constant updates, season passes, and resets. There's only so much time in the day for dailies, 24 hours of it to be exact. What makes Metroidvanias so attractive to me is that they are a package with a distinct beginning, middle, and an end. It's one of the genres that has more design consideration for conclusions than just showing you the door or waiting for you to get bored. I am buying your Metroidvania because it is a Metroidvania, and because you are not like the ones I already own. I love Hollow Knight, but I don't think I love Team Cherryvanias as much as other variants. I think Team Cherry's brand is cartoon insect delight, open-ended approach to map exploration, boss fights galore, and a lot of size. It is the epitome of bang for buck, but often I'm in the mood for a little more linear intent to my map design. Exploration and retraversal. I would take fewer mediocre boss fights and have some of the average ones be more fine-tuned. And I feel like their combat system and movement tech clashes with the fighting and platforming. Team Cherry are still superstars in my eyes. I'm not trying to disparage them, but rather trying to illustrate that Hollow Knight is not the universal end-all be-all to the formula. That's their specific recipe. And I do compare developers to themselves, though. At $20, Silksong does say to me, this is a little heftier than Hollow Knight. I don't know about better, but it is more. It is vibes. The Thompson Brothers Metroidvania averages around $20. That's the tone they set with Islets and Crypt Custodian. Sheepo, the first and smallest Metroidvania, is 10 at the base, so I'm expecting Well Dweller to be $20 or more if they do believe it's their biggest and best game yet. Color Grave seems to hit that $15 average, and also has a smaller selection price of $7 and $3. It's worth checking back in on them for their range and variety. Although those 90% sales do throw off the vibe. Rusted Moss was $20, and judging by the Twitter promotionals, the spiritual successor looks juicier and butterier. So if it is $20 as well, then hell yeah. If it's more than $20, then I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm more than willing to accept that. There's a level of internal consistency that can quell consumer anxiety. There is no hard science, just a soft vibe. Even when I consider a Metroidvania to be overpriced, it's usually in relation to itself. I don't think Blasphemous 2 was worth $30. But I'm not saying that because Tunic exists for $30, or because Nine Souls exists for $30. I'm saying that because Blasphemous 1 was $25, and Blasphemous 2 feels like it's still operating on the Game Kitchen's $25 level of quality. I will compare you with yourself. But what if you only have one game, no catalog? In that case, I default to a handy-dandy range of values from $0 to about $30 base price. $15 or less is for the self-reportedly smaller, unproven, and maybe even a little generic-looking Metroidvanias. Not to pick on mini-shoot adventures, it's just a really good example. It's about 10 hours for 100% completion. Soul Game Studios had no prior history of Metroidvanias, and it is an homage to the early Zelda games, so it felt familiar. But I didn't hesitate to pick up the game for $15, and I had a lovely time with it. More than $15 and up to $30, I want more of your DNA on display. In the story, in the art, in the map design, in the music, in the mechanics. I want to see your brand of Metroidvania. Give me a flavor I can't really get anywhere else. It doesn't have to be original, it just has to be you. Tell me about yourself. Animal Well is $25 and it says, "Hi, my name's Billy Basso, I like secrets." Be warned, more than $30 is kind of a red flag to me. After $30, I think Metroidvanias start to get bloated. And I feel like I'm being charged for things I don't really care about, but you think ups the value. Like high-fidelity graphics, fancy cutscenes, a very blatant story, different gear and playstyles even though I'm only going to use maybe one of them. And dare I say, $30 and above is the Souls-like tax for Metroidvanias. It can work, as it did with Nine Souls. Or it can guarantee I don't recommend a game unless it's on sale, like Mandragora. It had a $276,000 Kickstarter and a publisher, and it's still $40 base. What I was looking for at that price was not present. Rarely does any Metroidvania above $30 feel good without a sale. And I think that's everything I take into consideration. This has been a dissection of one Metroidvania fan's buying heuristics. It's based on logic as much as it is on emotion. It's based on your own development history. It's based on vibes. But one thing it's not based on is Hollow Knight. Maybe there is someone whose entire gaming library is multiple copies of Hollow Knight, one for each Metroidvania that was priced above $15, but it sure doesn't reflect my spending habits. Why would I buy your Metroidvania instead of Hollow Knight? Because it's a Metroidvania, and because it's not Hollow Knight.